Jesus Christ almighty. Where's my bunny? What's this all about?
Look, shut up. We've got a warrant.
What?
Go on.
What?
Shut up. We've got a
Let me see
warrant.
it.
There it is.
Let-
There it is. Come on. I
let
want
me
you
see
lot
your
in
warrant.
here. Take this place apart.
Let me see your warrant. What's this all about? This is all about the police force. I would like to know why all these police are here. Could you tell me the reason?
Shut up.
I'm just totally disgusted with this. I don't know why we have all these police here. What is the reason?
Look, I've told you before.
Right.
Shut up.
What? Right. The shock of seeing all these police officers, I said, Christ,
sure.
what's going on, you know? But apparently they shut the one side of the London Road off here, just behind you can look out the window there. And they had the other side going, and there was traffic going stopping, and everybody was looking to see what's going on here, you know.
Well, how many police vans came, do you know?
Well,
how
a
many?
friend of mine's told me that morning, he said they were at his front door, and he thought it was a drugs bust somewhere in the scheme here. He said they were heavy-handed. He said they looked about maybe 10, 12 in each van, you know.
And I think there were 3 vans.
I'm not sure, I think he says to me there was only 2 there, Stan, you know. Dan Macbeth kept asking me, do you know what we're here for, Mr. Donnelly? I says, I haven't a clue. I says, it looks bad here with all these officers. Have you ever been to Oban? I says, me and my girlfriend were in Oban a few years ago, you know. When was the last time you were Oban? I said, well, what's this all about? I said, do you know who Shan Kidd is? I says, I've heard the name before, but I believe she's got something to do with Princess Diana. Yeah, it's Diana's mum, Dan Best says, you know. So you've never been to Oban recently? I says, no. I said, yeah.
Look, have you been to Oban?
Yeah, I was at Oban a couple of years ago with my girlfriend Nancy.
When?
We went a few years ago, I can't remember. It was,
And have you been to Seal?
I've heard about it, but I don't know where it is.
And what do you want?
Sorry,
I'd like to know.
Nancy's girlfriend.
I would like to know.
And who
what's
is
going on.
Nancy?
Nancy's my girlfriend.
Does she live here?
No, she lives local. She just lives round the corner.
Look, you, go and get her, take her back to her property, and search it from top to bottom.
Nancy's got nothing to do with this. It's
Look, you've been to Oban,
yeah.
you've been to Seal,
Everybody goes out for a weekend.
you've been to Seal,
Never.
and what about the cottage? Have you seen the cottage?
I've seen it on the news. The photographs of it.
Why? Why are you so interested
Well,
in it?
everybody reads the paper.
Oh, come on, look, you've been to Oban,
Yeah.
you went across to Seal, and you went
No,
to the cottage,
I
didn't you?
I don't even know if Seal's an island.
Look, make life easy for us all, will you?
With all of the jewellery stolen, one wonders why such valuable items as letters and tapes from Diana were left behind. Could it be that the theft of the jewels was a cover for the copying of Diana's letters and tapes? Rumours abound among the Scottish thieving fraternity that the theft was carried out by spooks. As to date, none of the stolen jewellery has turned up, including a brooch which belonged to Mary, our last Queen of Scotland. I would surmise that even the dumbest of thieves would have realised the real value was not the jewellery, but the information on Diana's life with Charles and Camilla, contained in the correspondence to her mother. This may well have included references to her last lover, Dodie, and their intended plans, which certainly the establishment would have been at pains to find out, due to her relationship to Charles and the heirs to the throne. One can only wonder and speculate as to the knowledge in the letters and tapes. So, did a common thief, a spook, or someone closer to home commit this crime? We will never know who burgled Mrs. Shankid's home and the present whereabouts of her jewellery. As far as we're able to ascertain, the police have made no arrests or searched any other properties in connection with the theft. Despite the celebrity status of Mrs. Shankid, the search for her belongings was short-lived. One wonders, do the police know more than they are telling us? It is unlikely we will ever be privy to that information.
Just come clean. We can all go home.
I don't know what you're here for.
Look.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Where have you put these jewels?
I've nothing to do with any jewels, right?
They're here somewhere. Look, we've ripped this place apart. Do you want us to continue to rip it apart?
Heavy police presence here, and I just don't know what you're here for. I've nothing to do with these jewels.
Right, lads. I think we've had enough of this. There's nothing here. Come on, let's get out. Come on. There's nothing here, boys. Everyone out.
On the
I
floor
collapsed
here.
on the floor here, just with this lady here standing, and the paramedics were called. And the next thing I recovered, these two guys were putting these suckers all over my chest, you know.
What's happened to you? Oh, help. Oh, for goodness sake. Oh, where's my phone? Hurry up. Ambulance, please, ambulance. Hello? Hello? 1462 London Road. A man, he's collapsed. He's breathing, but it doesn't look good. Wait, will you be quick? I need you to be quick.
I take it that they showed you a search
They
warrant.
just showed me a bit of paper, but I couldn't read nothing. There was,
And
you
did
know.
they leave that with you?
No, I never.
So you've no copy of that search warrant
No,
whatsoever?
no.
Right.
What they did leave, they left their tools lying in the stair, and I fell down the stairs about 3 days after it. They left a couple of the screwdrivers here, and I took them down to London Road Police Station. In the newspapers, they were only here for 4 hours, but I recall about 7 hours.
They stayed in the house for
Well,
7 hours?
Me and Nancy left the London Road Police Station about 7 o'clock at night, I think it was, you know. It was quite late, you know, but they took us down to an interview room there, and they interviewed us on tape, and they were asking me, and I told them I wasn't happy about the way the house was searched, you know.
Here I am. Let's have a look at this damage that the police did.
Well, they started in this room here. This is the main living room. What they done was there was two officers come in here while I was sitting on the bed there with this Dan Macbeth and Charlie.
And they made you sit here while
Oh, they made me sit here.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened was started to Jeremy put these aluminium ladders up and started to Jeremy these things off this piece of wood here. It's been lying there a long time, you know, which come off of the top bit there, you know. I've not any money to repair that, you know. I'm a pensioner now and I can't get up to get to, you know.
I understand.
I'm still sitting in the bed here and we're ripping out this place here where the mirror. The mirror used to be, it was here with two chrome studs.
Now this was a full length mirror?
Oh, it's full length mirror, aye. They offered me £30 compensation for the damage to it.
So why did they pull the mirror off the wall there anyway?
Because it had two chrome studs and you couldn't see them and they were like that. I was just ready to say something and the next thing the whole mirror exploded.
Yes.
Because I knew that they couldn't see when you put these mirrors in. It was done with a professional guy and he put the chrome studs on top of the screw so you couldn't see it. It was like part of the mirror, if you get me. So this is the whole plumbing system in the house, but if you look at this, they pulled out all this asbestos and left it lying in a big pile on the floor here. It's in a big bag in the back here, the staircase that they're up to. But the result of that, with them putting the endoscope cameras in the wall here, was that the ceiling came down here. They burst the joint in the pipe.
Is that in the upstairs room?
Yeah. Well, they were up the loft too, I don't know.
Well, we'll go up there
Right.
in a moment.
Right,
Yes.
but they bust the joint in the pipes according to the plumber guy I had in looking at it. And he said it was only a result of the pipes being disturbed, the pipes
Yes.
were pulled, but to get this camera in to see if there was any jewels or whatever they were looking for.
Right.
And if you look here, you'll see these watermarks. You see them all over this. I had to drill 2 holes there, see these marks here? The floor dips down it. This is all caused by the darkness. This ceiling I had to renew. This ceiling I had to renew.
Oh yes, I can see.
As you see, they're new ceilings.
And this is your studio, obviously.
Yeah, this is my studio where I paint. It's a bit hot now as compared to what it used to be like. But this electrical switch here, you see it all black here. This went in fire because the police they didn't wire it in properly. The wires are still sticking out.
Are you telling me they took the socket off the wall?
Oh, every socket in the whole house.
Really?
Every socket in the whole house, yeah. And this all burnt.
And that set fire to the paper?
You see the flames mark?
Yes.
That set fire to the house. And in this room here, you can see the things hanging down here. And see there, David, you see the dampness, the wallpaper's peeling off the wall with all the dampness. This ceiling has been renewed too. This is a brand new ceiling.
Yes, I can see that.
This whole the whole ceiling is actually done. The whole roof.
I see you've got a painting here of Princess Di.
Oh yeah. Well, I do a lot of pictures and paintings out that I see in the paper. There's one of the Celtic manager there. There's one of Madonna. And, there's one of John Lennon there. If I see something in the paper, I get influenced by it and I paint it, you know. These wall panels were burst open, and that's the way they've been lying since. Oops. This is the way both sides, all the wiring.
They ripped these off.
Yeah, they ripped them out. Ripped the whole staircase out here. See this? This is the bag. This is asbestos that was after that pipe there. I don't want to bring it out,
Yes.
David, you know, but that's the big bag that was left. They left a pile on the floor and I had to put it in.
So they took the steps out?
You see this, I had to paint this because it was all dry dust and it was going through the whole house. What they done up on the roof there was they ripped the tiles up manually, and one of my friends is a roofer and he says they actually, it looks as though they've done this damage deliberately. They've ripped the tiles up. There's Tudor tiles in this building.
Yes.
And they've knocked holes in the felt to see if there was anything hidden under there.
Good.
And this is how all the water's come in here.
Yeah.
Because I spent £4,000 getting this roof done professionally, like a few years ago, like maybe about 10 years. Just watch your head here, Stan.
And this ceiling's all being redone, yes?
This was all renewed, but this wasn't damaged. This ceiling here, If you look at that picture there, you see how damp it is up here. That picture's actually got what you call foxing on it.
Looks like little tiny mushrooms.
Well, see that's what you call foxing. That's how it's very, very cold and damp.
All we have to do is leave a window open.
Well, they opened this window onto the roof and did Stan, this bit here. This whole roof was renewed. That's the place we've just come out of there.
Yes.
And what they done was they tore up all these the felt along here to see if there was anything hidden under here, and the water got in eventually. About a year and a half to 2 years later, and that's how I had to renew all these ceilings, you know.
Good.
My house insurance wouldn't cover it because it was a police search. Yeah, they actually, when I went to
How were you insured with?
Zurich, quite a big company, and according to the lady in insurance, Kathleen, I was dealing with at the time, she says that your house insurance will not cover this because it was a police search. So apparently the police have got a lot of power, you know, that they can cut out house searches, you know. And if you look in here, they opened up in here. This is, you really need a torch in here, Stan. There's no lighting in here because of the dampness. But there's a boiler here.
I see it, yes.
This is the boiler that burst.
Yes, they tried to get behind it to see it.
There's a pipe there, they burst the pipe. There's
Right.
a pipe in the boiler. In fact, it's all disconnected now. But
It's a very old boiler.
it's a very old-fashioned boiler, you know. I better close this in case the cat gets. But there's a hole in the floor there.
Yes.
If you had a torch, you could look down and see the ceiling in the kitchen there. See the ceiling that we.
And that's where the water
With all
ran
the
from
wa-
here.
that's all underneath us. As you can see, the flares running down. This was all created with the dampness, and we wrought under the joist. I had to pull up the whole kitchen floor, as you know, up when you were in a couple of years ago, and renew the joists on the floor there, you know.
So you've already spent a considerable
Oh,
sum of money of your own.
Well,
trying to-
when I bought the house, I've spent about £35,000. I put a new roof on it,
Yes.
new floors, all the walls have all been plastered, and all the woodwork's been done and everything. The whole house has been gutted right from top to bottom. See, what I was planning on doing, I was planning on making it, there's 6 rooms in this house, I was planning to make it into a bed sit for the football.
Yes.
And this just
Take in visitors.
Yeah, visitors for the football, you know, for the
Sure.
come to watch the football. This just put the blockers on that plan, like, you know.
It's a shame.
It's
It'd be an income for you.
totally thinged, you know. Just watch that step, David, when you're coming down here.
That's the most unusual step I've ever seen.
It's this house.
It's the most unusual house.
It was built in 1924, this house.
It's as young as that.
You see at the moment I've got scaffolding up here outside. That's been up for a few years now, the scaffolding, just to try and repair the bits around the side here. Another thing there. But if you look, I don't know if you can see this back shed here, Stan.
Yes.
They were up on the roof of this and they broke the spine on this shed. This shed that I bought off the Celtic Club across the road there for £400 a few years ago, and it was perfect. It was only built, and they put it out there, and the police come up and they were dancing all over the top.
Did they offer you any compensation for
No,
this?
no, they never offered me any compensation whatsoever.
Even though the damages.
See,
quite
at the
extensive.
time, Stan, I just wanted the house fixed up, the ceiling repair, and everything, happy with that, and the electrical bits put back
Sure.
to normal. But it's made me no well now.
James Donnelly's nightmare all began with the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal in Oban, when back then the search warrant was issued by this office. Now I was curious about this because James Donnelly told me he never saw a search warrant, and he actually wrote to this office away back in May '03 inquiring as to that search warrant, and this is the response he received. Later, when I became involved with James, I too wrote to the Procurator Fiscal's office in Oban asking similar questions, and to my surprise I received this reply. And this will tell you that they have no file and they have no record of the search warrant, when and how it was issued. So this beggars the question, where did the search warrant come from, if one ever existed? Following on from here, numerous letters to this person and that person, and you can see for yourself that James has tried to contact everyone with his complaint, either about the solicitor or about the police or about the way his whole complaint has been handled. Far too numerous to go through individually, so I've given you a complete, almost a complete resume, including the newspapers and other articles that have been written for him, by him, and also his complaint to the PCCS.
Which I wrote to Miss Angelina, she's the procurator, the chief law lord, and I'm not getting her, I'm getting another understudy, and I'm writing to the chief constable, Stephen House, and I'm not getting him, I'm getting to another understudy. I'm never getting to the people that I write to. And this has been going on for 7 years. I've wrote to the European courts, I've wrote to the House of Lords. One of the Lords, Lord McLennan, actually phoned me at the house here at 6 o'clock at night.
Mr. Donnelly, Lord McLennan from the House of Lords. I see your plight, and I have been reading about your case in the newspapers. We unfortunately have no powers in the House of Lords to do anything about this. I can see the stress you're under, and the only thing I can suggest is that you write to your local MP. It's a pleasure. Best of luck. Goodbye.
Did you approach your local MP? What's his name?
Frank McAvee was my local MP at the time. It's now John Mason, Scottish Nationalist Party.
And how did he help, if at all?
Well, Frank was very good. What he done was, it took a few years. He put letters out to police and things, but I was still getting a run around. This is my girlfriend.
Right.
Yes, she just lives round the corner. She told me they searched her house, and they didn't ask her, did they have a search warrant? She says no, they didn't have a search warrant, you know.
But she agreed with that.
Well, Nancy's nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide, really, you know. But what happened was, Nancy was telling me that the police asked him, was there any place that has Jim got a lock-up or a thing? He's stolen the barriers. So they come round here and they got the key off of me, and apparently they took Nancy down to the barriers and they searched my stall at the barriers.
A compensation against the police, you must have a figure in mind. What have you asked them for that they've refused to consider?
Well, I was saying through this lawyer I went to about £50,000.
So you were seeking £50,000 worth of damages
but it's
from the
not
police?
the damage that's done to the house stand, it's the damage that's done to me personally.
Well, I understand.
Ruined my reputation too into the bargain, and health-wise.
Okay.
Basically, it's made me into a bit of a recluse, you know.
Lost your confidence?
No, lost my confidence, you know.
What did you do next?
Well, I met a friend of mine, Mr. David Kemp. At the time he was head of Granada TV, and I told him what had actually happened with the police searching my house, heavy presence of police. And I said I would need to go and find a good lawyer, and he recommended this chap, Des Finlayson.
And is he based in Glasgow?
Yeah, Franchise Finlayson, they're based at 24 St Enoch Square. So I went down with Nancy, and on the first appointment, me and Nancy were sitting there, and he says to me, well, the police, they're a bigger gang than us, you know. To me, he gave me the impression they didn't want to do anything. I said, but look, they've wrecked my house here, and I went to my house insurance and they'll not cover the damage, and I've not got the money to cover the damage that the police have done to my house, you know.
You feel that this guy, Des Finlayson, hasn't done the job for you? I will take over here as JD becomes upset as he relates the story, which is still haunting him today. The tale continues that JD told me in great detail about his attempts to have his solicitor get on with the case. He also said he had signed a legal aid form. He was told later by the legal aid office that no applications had been lodged by them or any solicitor. Had he done so, he would have been granted legal aid, as his income was within legal aid criteria. This situation continued for several years when JD made visits, telephone calls and wrote letters, plus giving at the outset a file documenting all that he'd been accused of and suffered at the hands of the police, including the wrecking of his home. At one point his girlfriend Nancy even questioned what was going on, as JD had received nothing in writing from Mr. Finiston to acknowledge his visits, calls and complaints. This did not deter or negate JD's faith in him until finally, a day of confrontation, JD's patience ran out. JD was by now confused, upset and disillusioned, and with his treatment and lack of progress, so took with him to the meeting a small tape recorder, which he had hidden in his jacket pocket. At this meeting, after complaining about the length of time his case had dragged on, he was told by Mr. Finiston that his file had been lost, and in any event, the case had run out of time and there was nothing more to be done. JD told Mr. Finiston that he would complain to the Law Society about the way the case had been mishandled. It was then that Mr. Finiston asked JD if £10,000 would be enough to cover all the damage, but estimates he had got were considerably more than that, and he refused. JD presumed Mr. Finiston was suggesting that if he got £10,000, he would not complain to the Law Society. JD did complain to the Law Society, but that was a waste of time, for they as usual found the solicitor not guilty of any negligence or failing, and went further to state that JD had no proof that he'd ever even instructed Frenchy Finiston to act for him, a finding that left JD stunned.
Hello, I'm Jim Donnelly's girlfriend. He's not very well today, so he's not able to come. So could you make another appointment, please? Yes,
That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you. See you then.
You see you later. Bye.
Where did his file go? As it turns out, Mr. Finiston never wrote a single letter to JD throughout the time he was supposedly acting for him, and appointments to the office did not constitute a client-solicitor relationship in the eyes of the Law Society. JD even complained to the Ombudsman about the Law Society's findings, and was told the findings of the Law Society were correct. All in all, JD thought he should not only be covered for all the repairs, but also some compensation for the damage and destruction the whole episode had had on his life, as well as a loss of his credibility in the community. In the end, he was only ever offered £30 for one broken mirror. Some of this meeting is recorded on the tapes in JD's possession, which he is reluctant to give to anyone, having already had files go missing at Shettleston Police Office, and even the Law Society lost letters of his. Indeed, to compensate JD for lost mail, the Law Society sent him a book of first-class stamps, very generous of them. With his main file and letters now lost, well in the hands of Mr. Finiston, he has little to help him in his struggle for his compensation. James Donnelly's life was changed beyond all recognition on that fateful day, 8th of November 2002. No matter what he has tried to do, he has met brick wall after brick wall. He is still living in a wrecked house. He has suffered a considerable amount of ill health since then, brought on no doubt by the stress and misery of his situation. But he is not deterred. He is still determined to seek and obtain justice.